Good evening, everyone. How you doing tonight? Welcome to the North Carolina Cryptid and Paranormal Project. My name is Tom, and I'm the host of this show and podcast and whatever else you want to call it. So we have a good guest on tonight. His name is Daniel Benoit, and I've been actually trying to get him on several times, and it seems like every time I've had him on scheduled to go live, we had like interruptions with internet issues and just back and forth. And I think we finally got a good way to get a good signal tonight when he's actually in the studio. So we're going to do this. I'm excited, looking forward to what he has to say. So everybody, let's welcome Mr. Daniel Benoit.
Hello.
I said your name right, did was that like I always think of like the wrestler Chris Benoit, so I just say Daniel Benoit like the wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely. You got it right on the money. So
Sweet.
absolutely.
He was a pretty badass wrestler from what I remember. Old Chris Benoit. He had traps like the size of bowling balls. You know, kind of like one of the Sasquatches.
Yeah, I remember watching some of him. Back when I was into wrestling. I haven't been into wrestling in quite a while, but yeah, you talk to my buddy Zach from Illinois. He can give you history on it. Probably almost everybody in the wrestling world.
Yeah, wrestling is kind of one of the things you watch when you're younger. As you get older, you kind of realize it's like scripted, like about everything else in the sports. You know, that kind of thing is scripted. So you kind of phase out of it and it gets boring. But let's talk about you, man. I know that, like mentioned before, like been trying to get you on, and we've always had like interruption problems with internet or just a bad signal, and we finally got a good good signal tonight to do this. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things that helps is like I showed you earlier, I haven't had this Wi-Fi device that long. So far it's been working out good for me. Yeah, I mean, between having crappy Wi-Fi before this, I mean, I've just been busy left and right and trying to balance everything out between work and, and organizing and planning, for an event coming up in a few months that I host every year. Let's see. Yeah, and between that, I get out in the woods. I've been trying to dedicate some time out in the woods because this past year I've kind of neglected a little bit of that. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of exploring so far the last few months, actually fairly recently. So yeah, I'm trying to get myself on the ball, and trying to get back on track. I'm trying not to get overwhelmed with the events that I'm scheduled to speak at this year. The funny thing is, I told myself last year that this year I wasn't going to do hardly any events. I'm actually scheduled, like, there's 2 months I'm pretty much scheduled full on. I know some people get scheduled throughout the whole year. I can't do that. I have too many other things to put my time towards,
Yeah, you got to work a full-time job. I mean, that alone is a lot.
Well, that, and my grandson lives here, so when I come home from my full-time job, I got him to deal with. Right. I'm definitely not complaining. I love that little guy. He's a lot of fun, and definitely keeps you on your toes. So, but yeah, I mean, I try to find rest and relaxation whenever possible. So.
Yeah. What kind of got you into this subject? I know you've been doing it for quite some time, but if not, people that haven't heard of you, if they'd love to probably hear your kind of just a quick run through bio.
Well, yeah, to be honest with you, it was a whole Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin footage that really opened my eyes. I know that's probably done it for so many people, but for me, yeah, it opened up a new world to me. It opened up a very strong curiosity. To the point where when I was going out in the woods, it changed my perspective. It opened up my senses. It really heightened and alerted me to everything around me. I was so much more aware, and then over a period of time, really paying attention, I started looking for the evidence myself, and I started finding things, I consider what I've been finding evidence to most, or even to the science, to the scientific world. What we consider evidence, it's a bunch of probably BS to the scientific world, but but we have more. I like to believe that me, you, and most of us in the community have more of an open mind, on what we consider evidence. But yeah, I mean, but that's basically what opened the door for me is, because I mean, that footage has been around for years. I mean, we know since 1967, but, you know, that footage, and I know there's been other footage around. There's other footage that, I find incredible apart from the Patterson footage. That I have actually had given a lot of attention to personally. Um, and I will say it was the Paul Freeman footage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
that's good stuff. Good footage.
Paul Freeman's footage, and I know there's others that agree that that's been neglected as far as the attention that it deserves. It really needs more attention. I'm convinced that Paul Freeman had the real deal in his video. You know,
I agree,
um,
100%. I think his son, since he passed, his son kind of has like the rights and kind of executive over all that evidence, and I think he even agrees the same thing. Like even when he was younger, he was pretty much on to like he was like, yeah, there's no way you could pull that off.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had the privilege of sitting down with Michael Freeman uh, probably about a month ago, give or take. Yeah, he was actually a guest on my podcast, and we had a great discussion. And then as far as there was portions that we were able to discuss about the book he has out. And I tell you what, there's some good details in that book. I don't own it yet. I do plan on purchasing that book, but there's a lot of details and behind the scenes when it comes to that footage. Because Paul Freeman, he was he didn't have nothing to lose. I mean, I don't believe he was hoaxing. There was nothing. I mean, that I don't know. I just find it to be very incredible. People, if you haven't seen the Paul Freeman footage, take a look at that. It's all over YouTube. And for the record, you're going to see 1994 on there.
1994, big block,
Yeah,
camcorder, 10-pound camcorder, the old school kind. That
right. Now, as far as the 1994, that footage was actually filmed in 1992. Yeah, I think a lot of people didn't realize that, but yeah, even Michael Freeman actually clarified that it was actually from 1992. I mean, yeah, because when I even played a portion of that video clip on my podcast when Michael was on, and I didn't know that until he actually corrected me on that. I was like, he said, there's a correction I have to make on that. That came from 1992, not 1994. I said, oh wow, okay. So
interesting. So it must have been edited onto like a tape cassette or something from '92. I know some of those older camcorders, sometimes they don't have a tape in them, and you have to like put them into something with the UV cables or the yellow and the white, and I think the red cable, and plug it into the back of a TV, and then transfer it. So they probably had to do all that back when there was like technology was limited.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. We might still have one around. I don't know. We used to have the old VHS. Well, it took the mini VHS,
Right.
that went into the adapter, but
now everything is SD card, micro SD card. I mean, I got this little 4K camera. It's about that big. Got night vision on it. Got a big speaker on it, and it takes a little micro SD card.
Oh wow!
And you can even transfer it onto your laptop without even taking the card out. You can just kind of plug it in, and it has a little HDMI cable on it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, now I have a new camcorder. I just have not had the privilege of really experience. I mean, I did a little bit. It's got the night vision. From what I've played around with it, it looks pretty good. I just need to really put some more time into it.
Yeah. Well, the one I have, the night vision, it's probably like $120, $140 camera on Amazon. Probably a Chinese knockoff of a Sony or a Samsung. So the night vision doesn't really, when you turn it on, because I was testing it out in my backyard, just doing a quick run through with it, and it kind of lights up the area, but then it kind of dims back down. So my thinking is if I get one of those glow sticks and kind of strap it onto the tip right where the edge of the lens is, just strap it on there with something, with those little crack glow sticks, that'll kind of lighten up the area, and that'll keep everything, somewhat of a light source to give that that FLIR, that night vision, better quality. So yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I did with mine, yeah, I mean, mine seemed to light up pretty good, but I actually had another night vision attachment.
Mhm.
And keep in mind, of course, you got to charge up the night vision attachment.
Yeah.
But when it's fully charged and you turn that on along with the camcorder's night vision, it lights up very nice
Mhm.
around 30, 40 feet, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all you get about 30 feet. If you try to go like 60, 70 yards, it doesn't really give you too much light. So that's why I was thinking of using a glow stick to get that extract more light pixels from the the darkness, and then that little glow stick might help. So it's just something I thought up. Just a little redneck ingenuity. Sometimes you got to use that
Right.
ingenuity to make things work, to get things to technology to do what you want and manipulate it. So.
Absolutely. That's interesting. If you try that, let me know how that works out. I'll be curious to know. I mean,
Yeah, I said
I,
I'm
I,
waiting for the weather to get a little better because I'm itching to get out and do some field investigating in some of my areas. Local, there's a greenway trail that follows a creek not too far from my house. I've had some activity out there at a park, and then I've had activity on my own property. So I've kind of like hit or miss, and I don't have to go too far. There's also some areas that I know of that are active that I can go to, which I don't want to go there at night because I don't know how it is at night. So otherwise, I'll have to go armed and maybe bring an extra person with me because when in new areas, when you go at night, you don't know how it's going to be, if there's something's going to come at you, and especially when you're alone. But don't want to be part of the missing 411.
right. Yeah. Yeah. You just never know what to expect. That's for sure. Yeah. Uh, Now, it's funny, just real quick, I'll mention we were discussing on an open panel last week, uh, or I was discussing it. Oh no, it was with my most recent guest. I was happened to mention like there's areas I've gone out numerous times by myself, and there's been times where I brought my daughter out there with me, and when she was younger, she was still a teenager, and yeah, I mean, I've gotten all kinds of crazy activity having a female present, So,
Yeah, I've heard
yeah.
that theory. Something about a female present because I had activity when I brought my wife with me to a park, and this is the same park in North Carolina in Charlotte where somebody actually disappeared, went missing for 2 days, and then all of a sudden, mysteriously, their body turns up, within 20 meters of where they searched 2 days later, and all of a sudden the body turns up, and there's not a whole lot of like report issues, like anything with what did they call that, the coroner's report, nothing really
Oh,
detailed
yeah.
on what they found or anything like that. So I know you can kind of, I think some people in the NADP were talking about you can get an autopsy report if you pay a certain fee, and you can get it from
Oh, wow.
and you can kind of, because they were kind of getting those from some of these recent animal attacks. So yeah. But
Hmm.
you say that area my wife she saw something about 40 to 60 yards away, and I didn't see anything. But I think she has an ability where she has like an intuition where she could see, she can pick up on these things because I didn't see Jack, and she saw, she's pretty much detailed, perfect description of a Sasquatch at 60 yards away, and
Wow.
I'm just blind to everything. So
And,
yeah.
and, and this is all in North Carolina?
This is Charlotte, North Carolina. This is the Greenway. This was actually a park that the Greenway comes out to, and there's a huge lake that wraps around the park, and there's plenty of woods all around, and I mean it's acres and acres and acres of woods, and then what's not the park is more woods of just state land.
Wow. Nice. Hmm.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I know there's a couple others. Friends of mine, you may know them, the North Carolina Squatch Watchers.
Yeah, I've been following their stuff. They were actually, I think I saw them on doing some a pretty decent interview on the Dark Waters network, and I was like, I'd love to have them guys come on and tell me what they do and hear some of their stories and their encounters because they've been doing it for quite some time, and I think I've been
Hmm.
following them when they were on like a local news, when they were coming out and doing their investigations and kind of like when Finding Bigfoot was big, like 5 years ago, and they've been around that long from what I remember. So yeah, they're pretty awesome guys.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And it's funny
yeah,
because they were like, from what I was listening to their interview, like they were both on the whole flesh and blood, hardcore. And now after doing it for so long and seeing things that they can't explain and dealing with stuff they can't explain, they're like, we don't know if it's if it's something else too.
yeah. The funny thing is, and not towards them. There's others that are like that too. And these are people that tend to have a very large following. Sometimes you have to make adjustments to keep those followers or gain more followers. But that's all I'm saying. So, they're don't get me wrong, they're good friends of mine. I love those guys. They've been speakers, but I'm just speaking in general because I know others that have switched or given other consideration. But on various topics. Me, I mean, if you know. I stand firm in one system right now. I do keep an open mind. There's a lot of different theories and beliefs that I'm not going to totally dismiss just yet, but I'm not going to believe them just yet either, if that makes any sense. If people want to disagree with me, that's good. That's healthy. Agree to disagree until until somebody could prove to me otherwise, or until I could experience what someone else is claiming. I'm kind of one of those kind of people. But at the same time, I mean, I've experienced a lot of crazy things. I can't say I've ever seen a portal. I can't say I've ever seen cloaking. But there's a lot of things I do believe in, but at the same time, there's a lot of things I'll consider the possibility of. It's just I have to stand on my ground right now because there's a lot. The problem is with a lot of people in the Bigfoot community, they're quick to jump on something what most people would consider far-fetched, instead of standing or stay planted in one subject and focusing on something that what we would consider logical or a critical thought is people don't want to stay there. They find it more entertaining, especially to their audience, that, well, hey, let's start talking about this and believing in this, and we're going to bring in all kinds of people because, we're going to cater to them. I'm not here to cater to people. I'm here to share my beliefs and my conclusions on my research. I mean, you can take it or leave it, but at least all I do is at least consider that. I'm not trying to force anything on anybody, but, I guess that's, for me, that's being, what's the word I want to look for? Being true to myself,
Yeah.
Because again,
being authentic,
yeah,
to your own work and your details.
right, yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to force nothing on anybody, but I have my own views, and there's some things that are, the more I look into things or make comparison on certain topics, the more I want to stay there. I mean, because again, there hasn't been anything out of the ordinary or out of the realm of out of the realm of reality that hasn't pointed me in any other direction. So, yeah. So for the time being, I just want to stay where I'm at. So, yeah, I just want to keep it real on my part.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm gonna do a quick share of one of your links because someone was asking about it in the chat. And everyone in the chat, welcome. Glad to see you tonight. Glad you could make it. Let's see. Boom. Here we go. This is your, right? This is what you do Friday nights?
Yeah, every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is my Bigfoot Zone. ECBRO is the name of the YouTube channel. I have my personal website included in this logo right here. So,
we got.
And yes, yeah, this is my event that I host here in Virginia every June. Of course, our date for this year is June 17th in Wares Cave, Virginia, at the Wares Cave Community Center. If you want to check out the event website itself, it's vabigfootcon.com. We also have a Facebook page for that as well. So, absolutely.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll do that. Just wanted to do it quick because people were asking about it in the chat and all that, and I was just figured I'd put it out there. So what made you come up with the name, the ECBRO? Because I know that's your signature, the name of your group.
Well, to be honest with you, when I first started this, I was I was a very solo individual doing the research. There's times I still am, although I have others that represent and associate with me. But being originally from the state of Massachusetts, and then growing up here in Virginia, I've had the privilege of visiting other states. Anywhere from Pennsylvania, Rhode Island. I've been in North Carolina a long time ago. South Carolina.
Okay.
So being around, visiting and exploring these various states, I was like, well, I'm here on the East Coast. The thought of let's start off with East Coast. So. Yeah, the ECBRO, the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization, is what I started off as. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're not trying to do no West Coast, East Coast battle war, no rap battle, rap game, not like that, right?
Nah, no Tupac and Biggie stuff.
Yeah, and I hear you. And I mean, I grew up on the East Coast. I've had my first Sasquatch encounter actually in Ontario, Canada, when I was like 18 or 19 years old back in 1998. And it was a scary situation, but it was one of them things where it happened so brief, and I wasn't really I just didn't put my hand. Like, I didn't put everything on it. Like, damn, that was a Sasquatch encounter, because I didn't know what it was, and it was one of them things where you can't really see it from far of a distance, but you can see a huge silhouette of a body. A massive body from about 80 yards away, in the clearing of a wood line in one of those built-in tunnels in a tree, and it filled that whole tunnel up with its massive dark silhouette of a body.
Wow.
But when you're hunting with somebody and your adrenaline's going, you're pretty much fight or flight kicks in, and you just kind of get the hell out of there, and that's what we did. We got out of there. And then we got picked up by the hunting guide. Luckily, we saw the lights of his Suburban to come get us, because we were like in the middle of nowhere, and we probably would have been booger food or something, or worse. Worst case scenario. I always kind of put that encounter on the back burner for so many years, and then like when shows like Monster Quest came out, and Finding Bigfoot, and there was a couple other shows that were pretty good. When Legend Meets Science, and some of the stuff that Doug Hychek put out, some of those you kind of learn behaviors, patterns, and similarities and then when you start thinking back, you're like, damn, that was a damn Sasquatch encounter, because we were pretty much being they were escorting us out of there. They were flanking us out, and they wanted us probably out of there. It was either like a nursery or maybe like a bedding area where the family unit was of a troop. And I guess we got too close, because we weren't even in our hunting area. We were actually somewhere totally different than where the tree stand was, because we actually got out of our tree stand earlier than we were supposed to, because we were so bored, because we knew there was no bear coming, and we knew we're in a bad spot. We've had a feeling, we're like, yeah, this dude put us in a bad stand. There's nothing's gonna come out here, and we just started doing our own little exploration, and that kind of turned out sideways, didn't pan out too well. But like I said, I'm here to talk about it, so that's a good thing.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is all in North Carolina?
Oh, this was actually Ontario, Canada. It was at a it was at a hunting lodge called the KOA River Lodge.
Okay.
Near the Ottawa River in Ontario, Canada, and it's still open to this day, because I've Googled, did some online research to check the place and see if it's still open. It's still a successful hunting lodge where they do fishing and hunting trips. I think it's like a 3-day weekend bear hunt, and then you can fish as well. And it's right along the Ottawa River and the Algonquin State Park. And like I said, after like I started finalizing what actually happened, and you start, stuff kind of comes back in your head, little clips here and there of like an encounter like that, because sometimes you put it on the back burner and you forget about it. But when you start listening to certain people's encounters over the years, little tidbits come back in your mind, like, oh yeah, this happened and that happened. But I did some research and checked like that area along the Algonquin Park and where that lodge was, and there's a shit ton of reports on the BFRO for that area. So I mean, it's definitely an an active spot. So it's not something that can be like, I can kind of, dismiss it and say, oh, it was nothing. But when you look and you see all the encounters that are in that area, you're like, yeah, this is definitely a hot spot. And what happened to me back in all those years ago was probably something that, still going on today.
Oh yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, even with Native Americans from up that way, I mean, there's legends and folklore that date way back. Um, yeah, you got the Iroquois, the Micmac. The Micmac actually a lot of them originated out of oh my parts of Canada, Nova Scotia, down in the Maine. But if you look at when I learned that there was Micmac Indian in my bloodline from my father's side of the family, I was like, oh, I wonder if they have a Bigfoot legend. So I started doing some research on it, and yeah. So sure enough, yeah, there was what they would describe as a large, hairy female cannibalistic like being that was part of their folklore, like many other tribes throughout North America. So
That's funny you say that, because I've heard a lot of details about like the cannibalistic. I think I was listening to a report about it today. Like if you look at the out in the Oklahoma and the Choctaw with the I can't think of his name, LaFleur, the LaFleur encounter with they rounded up an army of all the Indians. And they went out and they found out they were taking the women and the children and killing them, and they found bone piles in the caves, and they pretty much went to war with the Sasquatch, and eventually they got decimated. But I think LaFleur got his head split open on in battle and all that. But it was a pretty intense situation. And then I think Alaskan, I'm probably going to say this wrong because I'm not native to that part, but the Kwakwaka'wakw out in Alaska or British Columbia, part of BC, folk, but his name is Tom Seawood. He does the Sasquatch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sasquatch Island. Well, he talks about the Dunaqua, wild woman of the woods, and she actually, that they tell a story. She actually goes into the neighborhood, the villages, with a little like woven basket, and she takes little children out, and they eat them.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully I didn't butcher that name up too bad, but that's from what I've heard over here. I'm saying it so long. I'm pretty sure I said it right. So I try to
Yeah.
words.
Yeah, I've heard similar stories. I don't know if they're from that area or maybe somewhere along the lines. I've heard about them snatching up, small children, putting them in a woven basket. Yeah, very interesting. So,
all right. Let's see. Do you have any scariest encounter that you've had? This is for TL.
Well, to be honest with you, there was my main encounter in 2014. To be totally honest with you, I can't say that was scary because there was 6 of us that witnessed this together. It was more of a staring contest and a whole situation of, basically being caught off guard, but yet then being curious on both sides. Honestly, the scariest moment I've actually been in, and I can't say it was Bigfoot, but there was 2 different situations. The first scariest situation was actually in 2015. In my main research area, up across from where I camp, and I was by myself. It was during the hunting season, and there was nobody else around. There was one other camp spot, and I know it was not occupied. But directly across from where I was camping at, it was I don't know. It was probably about 10 o'clock at night, and I was sitting around the campfire. It was dead quiet. I was actually getting bored. I wasn't tired. I was so wide awake, and then just being bored sitting there because I was there. I had the fire going and my vehicle there, and I decided to randomly grab my spotlight and walk out to the middle of the 4th row. And then, for the record, I did not have the spotlight turned on. I walked out into total darkness. I don't know. I do this from time to time when I camp by myself. I don't know. I guess because when I get out to the middle of the road, for some reason, I'm standing there listening, kind of taking it all in, just looking around to see if there's anything noticeable before I decide to turn the light on. Well, I got out to the middle of the forest road, and I'm looking at the tree line that's right across from me. And for the record, tree line's only about maybe 20 feet or so. And I start shining the light to my left, and immediately, I didn't see it, but you could hear the sound of a deer like get spooked, and the deer ran off. I was like, oh, okay, cool. There's a deer in there, and of course, I mean, I would expect more because a lot of times in even this particular area, there's a lot of deer that go into this area. Hold on, my grandson's banging at my door. So yeah, after hearing the deer run off, I take my spotlight and I'm shining it from my left, going over to my right, and as I approached the 1 and like got basically between the 1 and 2 o'clock position, that's when whatever was inside that tree line started walking away from me. And what I heard next was, without doubt, bipedal steps, and we're talking very large and heavy. Now every step, every step it took had like a crunch and a thump or whatever it was stepping on, and
feel the ground shaking, right?
Well, I can't say the ground was shaking, but I know my heart was up in my throat because I was completely by myself. I wasn't expecting anything like that, and I'm hearing, and all of a sudden I'm like, for a second I was slightly froze because I was like, "What the heck is that?" You know, and then I'm walking backwards with the light still shining at the woods, and then I'm reaching down with the opposite hand to grab my belt, the keys that are hanging on my belt loop, to like push make sure my vehicle was unlocked just in case. But when I got back into camp, I instantly just calmed right down. I threw a couple more pieces of wood in the fire, and my shotgun was actually leaning up against my blazer. I was like, and I just got the fire going a little bit bigger and just relaxed, and I just started thinking about what I just experienced. I was like, well, there's no doubt that was something very large and heavy and on 2 feet.
Yeah,
but
definitely big.
Yeah, but it walked away from me. I had to realize apparently it didn't mean no threat to me. I mean, maybe it could have. It had every opportunity, but thing is, I think after thinking about it later, I believe there's a possibility I may have disturbed its dinner. Because I got to think about the deer that got spooked off. And it was probably working its way up on that deer. Who knows? There could have been more in there. I only heard the one. I mean, I feel confident to say that was not a bear. I've had a lot of experiences with bears, both close, some distant.
Right.
A bear, because of the padding on their feet, they're very quiet. They can actually walk up on you and you won't know it.
Yeah.
Unless they scurry off to run, you might hear them scuffle a little bit. But yeah, on the most part, you won't hear a bear. But this had some weight, some serious weight and impact on with every step it took. That was one of the scariest moments I had because I was by myself. There was no one else there. I didn't have the comfort of relying on no one else. So
and I was by yourself. Yeah, I definitely get the feeling when your heart feels like it's about to pop out of your like come out of your mouth almost, and it's racing. You can barely move. You're frozen. Got a quick question from Steve Riley. Thanks for the question, Steve. Do you practice gifting?
Gifting without food, yes. Now I'll back up a little bit. I've used to experiment with food, as a lot of people like to do. Peanut butter. I've used Reese's cups. There was a time where a group of us went camping. We've actually put out Rice Krispie trees. But over the years, I changed my approach on the gifting with food. It just, because I'm a wildlife researcher as well as a Bigfoot researcher, and I have to consider the wildlife and are we causing harm when we are leaving, our food, our human processed food, because one, we don't know if the wildlife, we don't know if they're allergic. We could be causing more harm than good. So I started learning and experimenting with trinkets, homemade necklaces and little things like that.
Tiny stuff, tiny things, marble, seashell.
Absolutely. Even stones.
I've spray painted rocks now to try that. So I'm getting ready to do that as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. Yeah, absolutely. I know other people have created just for fun. They created their own little mini teepee structures, and just for experimental purposes, and to come back to see if anything's changed or anything's been added or
Well,
whatnot.
I can
But
I can tell you firsthand experience from building a little. I built like a small teepee on my land, like almost like a deer blind, like a like a pretty much you know caveman style, like old school tree blind, but it's like more like a teepee that's open. I've noticed that ever since I built that little homemade setup, that a shit ton of things have been built around it, or
oh wow,
arches, bends, breaks. I mean, I'll send you some pictures later if you haven't seen them. I've posted over the years, but I've got all kinds of arches, breaks, asterisks, bends. I got an area where something's bent over, or something's broken over, and it's got two bends in the middle of it on each side of the break, which I think is very interesting. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
yeah, absolutely. Next, the Squatches, their intelligence will shoot up to way up there, and next, they'll be building condos in your backyard.
Exactly, exactly. So it's kind of like
So,
one of the things where, like, you build the TP, we're going to show you what we build. So keep building stuff around this, and show you what we can do. That's what I take on it. I mean, I don't have way to talk back and forth. Any kind of communication like that. I have a friend of mine speaks. If you know Robin, everyone knows Robin McRae. She's given me some really good information of the clan troop that comes on my property. I mean, she's given details of my yard and the woods, and she's done all
mm,
that just to a T. Described it all, and she's never been to my yard. I've never given her my address. She pretty much, like, she described my yard like she was standing in my yard. So when she
mm,
told me all about it, I took it seriously, and I took it personal, and took heed to whatever she said. So yeah,
right. Yeah, another thing I have not tried, but I thought about it is maybe some Legos.
Legos.
Maybe, yeah, because they come in different colors, and then just to test if the Squatches are interacting to see what they might pick up on, I don't know. It sounds like it would be an interesting and fun thing to try. Um, yeah, I think anything that would that would entertain a child, it would probably spark their curiosity to check it out. So
Absolutely. And a lot
yeah.
of people say, a lot of these squatches have like the mindset of like a adolescent on on the spectrum of being autistic. So I don't have proof, but that's what I've heard from a lot of people say. Like, their mentality is almost like an autistic child slash teenager, the way their behavior is. So
Yeah, if I'm saying his name correctly, I may be saying it wrong. Noel, Chris Noel, I think his name is. Actually, wrote a book about that. So, um, yeah. So I mean, also, I mean, look at some of the primates that were in or out of captivity. Like the ones that like I can name one: Coco the gorilla, Oliver the chimp. I mean, they had such a high intelligence. Oliver the chimp, he was known as a humanzee. He wasn't your ordinary chimpanzee. He was. A lot of people thought he was a different breed. Somebody thought, a lot of people thought he was like maybe a hybrid. Uh, he was so highly intelligent, very social. A lot of our primates, our non-human primates, they're very social. They're much like us, but in a different way.
right.
Um, but their intelligence is mind blowing. What they pick up on and what they do. Some of the things they've been observed doing. A lot of what they've been observed doing. A lot of it's what we associate and contribute to Bigfoot activity, or what Bigfoot might be doing. Especially in the wild. There's a lot of little things you probably do a cross comparison on, and like, well,
Mhm.
look, we're finding this here, we're hearing this here, but let's take a look at our non-human primates, chimpanzees, gorillas,
Mhm.
even the orangutans. I mean, some of their behavior and activity is like so close, you know.
Right. It's one chromosome off from being us, from what I understand. I think they're one chromosome or one DNA molecule off from being like us to the like matched up T. Question from Steve: have you ever experienced any orbs?
No orbs
No?
in the flesh, none in person. No. So maybe someday, but not yet. So yeah.
That's you're open to interpretation, right? You're open minded to it if it comes your way. I mean, a lot of people say sometimes these orbs are attributed to paranormal activity or even like UFOs or hyperdimensional beings, and do all that can kind of cloak, or not even cloak, but kind of mimic the body of a Sasquatch, and people think they're seeing a Sasquatch and it's something totally different. So it's just
right.
That was something to ponder, but the quantum physics of how these things operate.
Absolutely, most definitely.
Yeah, I want to get into some of your pictures. Is it okay if we start going into some of the pictures you shared with me?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, some of them are the structures and stuff I come across. Now, for the record, now these are structures I find a lot of fascinating stuff out in nature. A lot of it, I'm not going to say Bigfoot did it, but I'm not going to say he didn't do it too. A lot of these things, I believe that, or they at least appear to have been built by hands. And there's only two species in this world that have opposable thumbs: us humans, and then non-human primates. So yeah. Oh yeah, Scott's asking about strange vocalizations. Absolutely, I've heard all kinds of crazy howls and screams. There's been responses from others that been out in the woods with me. Yeah, we've had. I've gotten tree knock responses from my tree knocks, and yeah, it's been very fascinating. So yeah, this is one of the example of some of the what I would refer to almost as a teepee type structure.
This is like what they call asterisk too. Like they call it an asterisk because it's almost like one of those multiple asterisks just combined together. Awesome,
right? And with this one here, this is way down beyond where the one time I took my daughter and we had a bunch of hoots and hollers of screams. But the day I found this, she wasn't with me on this day in this particular area. But what was fascinating, this was probably about 20 feet from a small creek, which was actually currently dried up at that time. But some bits and pieces of it had a little water left in it, but most of it was dried up. But yeah. So yeah, I find these kind of fascinating.
This is pretty. I mean, it's pretty. What do you say the biggest part, like the biggest log that's in this structure? What would you say the diameter, like how around it? Are you thinking like maybe 18 inches around of the biggest one that's in there? Because that's how big it looks to me.
Yeah, the one going straight across. Well, actually, there was one standing up, leaning in on it. That one there, to be honest with you, I know the picture might be a little deceiving, but it was probably only maybe between 8 and 10 inches around in diameter.
So yeah, and 30 foot tall, maybe 30 to 40 foot tall altogether.
There was one standing tree, and then of course you see the long one stretching across. But as far as height wise, yeah, this thing was probably 12 to 15 feet high. Yeah,
that's pretty impressive. I mean, if I saw something like that, I would definitely know what it is and what like what built it, and definitely know that this wasn't done by a machine and it wasn't done by a person or a bunch of people. Like you need seriously omega strength to do this kind of work.
Yeah, there's another one I really wish I thought about trying to find it to share with you. It was found last year, and it was huge. It was very huge, and my girlfriend at the time was standing underneath of it. We did it to show how big it actually really was. So, but yeah.
Let's go to the next one. Here's another one.
Yeah, now this one here is one of those crisscrossing ones. As you see, you got the standing tree that forks out, and the other trees are crisscrossed in two different directions through that. So,
well, what I'm seeing too, the tree to the right of it, behind it, also has something going through the little fork in it. If you look, there's another.
Yeah, that one there. Yeah, it's actually not connected to the main one right here. Yeah, right. Yeah, right behind it.
It's almost like they started doing another one behind it,
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty
Absolutely.
Now, where were these taken at?
They're right here in Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley area.
Oh, wow.
Now this one here was over by the Shenandoah Parkway on the base of the mountain. The other one that you showed first, that was actually in the National Forest. So, yeah, more in the western part of the state. So, now this one here was probably about a mile and a half, 2 miles from the very first one you shared. I actually have this picture. I use this as actually a cover of one of my books. So, yeah.
That's pretty.
Yeah. Now these logs are a little bit bigger. These are some thick logs, and they're all just leaning up, joined together. So, yeah.
What's funny is I've seen something like this. There's actually something that's very similar to this that I've found years back when I first started noticing stuff like this in the woods. And what the funny part was, I noticed this wasn't too far from a main road, and it's kind of set back in the woods off of near like the Charlotte University UNCC area, and it's like this. It's like bent and twisted, and it's woven in and out, and it's crazy. I'm like, there's no way this was done by natural weather or man manipulated, because it was, as I said, it had to have some intense force to do this, to break things and bend them in between, snap them back out, and kind of weave them together. So this is definitely done by Squatch. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you another fun fact about the location right here. This is up on a ridge up behind where two of my encounters took place.
Oh, wow.
So, the one I told you about, the scary one when I was by myself, that's up behind here. So,
okay.
Yeah. So, yep. And I've actually had tree knock responses up there. There was one time I was up there during the middle of the daytime, it was probably around noontime. After hiking up here, it was right before we found this. Mm-hmm. We had just got up on part of this ridge, and we had to stop and sit down and kind of catch our breaths. And yes, again, three of us were sitting there, and I got up and I pulled the piece of wood that was in my backpack, decided to do a tree knock. And after giving a tree knock, I got two responses from two different directions.
Wow.
About a good 10 seconds apart. Yeah.
Nice.
So
what's weird too is when I was actually able to see this from the road. When I said it's very similar to this from my area. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I was in my work van, and I pulled over on the shoulder of the road, and I started walking back into the woods. And the further I walked into the woods, I saw a lot more that was very similar to this, and a lot more bigger breaks and X's. And the weird thing was, as I would say, the first minute and a half as I was in the woods, as soon as I got in, 2 tree knocks, and I'm like, wow. I'm in the right spot. And then after that, there was nothing else. It was quiet after that. But I was pretty impressed by just the 2 tree knocks. I'm like, damn, that's pretty. I guess they're saying hi, that I'm coming to their area, or giving off a warning that an intruder's coming, and 2 knocks. And I think that's what 2 knocks means, or something like. Someone told me like one knock is one, and 2 knocks is like they're getting close or they're coming in. I can't really, I don't know the language or the whole meaning of all that. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
absolutely.
Let's go to the next one.
All right.
Well, this is what you got coming up in June, right?
Yes. This is our annual ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference. This is the speaker lineup right here. June 17th, right here in Virginia. So
you got the live action boy coming.
Yee! I can't say it.
I can't do it. He does it perfect, though.
Yeah, I know. He does it. I'm going to tell you, if you ever meet him, if you ever go to an event that he's at, doesn't matter if it's a big event, small event, that man is live action and yee and all day long.
I bet he's like that the whole time you see him. So we're going to get another picture that you sent me. That's the last one. Check this one out. This is pretty wild.
Yeah, here's another thing about, I told you about the other structure that was up behind where my encounters took place?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is up behind there on the lower part, up behind that ridge. So
this is what I would call a double breakover from what I would call, double from each, and they're both going in two different directions, which obviously weather does not manipulate, or a person does not manipulate, doesn't have the strength to break that either, even if it's 3 inches, 4 inches across. People don't have the strength to do that. It's a natural fact.
Absolutely. And let me I'll tell you something about this. This is something I found like several years ago, but I still hunt this very area. This past hunting season, I hunted in this area, and they're still just like that. But on occasions, I go up to them and shake them, and you could clearly feel how strong they are. Like, the wind didn't do this.
No.
If you look around there's no other trees that fell on top of them or broke them like this. These were done deliberately on purpose. So
they were done intentionally. A question from the Squatch father, Al Santoriga. Can you see it on the screen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As far as prints found around the structures, I have found what appear to be impressions. I can't say for sure that they were Squatches, but then again, some of them were fairly large. Then again, some were in various sizes because Squatches, they do come in different sizes. So yes, I actually have found some of my tracks around structures. Most of the tracks that I've ever come across, most of them were along waterways, creeks, and streams. And then again, just random soft areas that might where the soil is exposed. But yeah, every now and then, like for example, this picture right here. If you look at the ground, there's a lot of leaf litter. There's a lot of leaf litter and pine litter. I take my time looking through here, even during the hunting season, because I have actually found track impressions throughout here. There is a lot of the ground that is soft. And then over to the far right of this, it's a big drop off where the creek runs through, comes up through on the mountain. And there's been a lot of track impressions through there. And on occasions, I'll take a chance. When you see a deep impression with leaves on it, sometimes I'll carefully remove the leaves to see if I can find details, to see what one may have made that track. In some cases, yes, some of them appear to be Squatch tracks.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I have found some that were just clearly bear tracks. Because bears is something I'm very familiar with. I do a lot of studies with bears, so when it comes to their tracks, their scat, their behavior. There's one thing I find with bears. I don't know if anyone's ever realized this or picked up on this for themselves, but in my area, bears and Squatches have a similar travel pattern and behavior. So there's a lot of similarities. I can't prove it, but as far as bears versus a Squatch, I believe that their diet is so similar, but with a percentage being backwards. And what I mean by that, a black bear, for example, their diet is basically 80% vegetarian, 20% meat. With a Squatch, that the percentage is probably going to vary.
Grubs, fruit, stuff from anything in like a creek, crustaceans, snails, fish, whatever away, and like certain plants extract some weeds and vines and certain stuff like that. They can eat bark. From what I understand, so their diet varies. And they're also, they're pretty much opportunist eater. If something comes their way, they're not going to pass up on a free meal. Someone throws out a whole bunch of chicken bones and half-eaten chicken in their garbage.
Oh yeah.
There's a Squatch in the woods back there. What Squatch going to do is going to get that free meal of what's left over of chicken and go from there. A question from Shane at the West Coast Dogman Project. You believe in dogs?
Yeah. Don't hate me on this, but no, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
hey, everyone's entitled to their belief, their opinion. Here's another question. This is from OK Nana. This is one of my moderator, Laura, and let's see. Can you read all that? Can you see it clearly?
Yeah. Did the first ones he encountered follow him home then? I can't say they followed me home. No, you didn't ask that already. No, you're totally fine.
You might not know if they followed you home. I mean, if they do, I mean, if you didn't recognize if they did, that you wouldn't know for a fact, unless they're,
Well, the thing is, where I've gifted and stuff before, my research area is almost an hour away from home. So,
Right. Well, I
I
know
mean,
they can travel, and they say they can travel far distance. I mean, I heard 50 miles, as pretty much like the roving ground, perimeter of what they can, their areas. So doesn't surprise me,
yeah.
but that doesn't
But
mean
I
it.
will. Oh yeah, but I will tell you, I feel confident to say that right here in the Shenandoah Valley, I can't say there's a lot, but at the same time, I honestly feel that there is a healthy um, habitat. Well, yeah, of course, there's a healthy habitat here. There's plenty of food source for them. But as far as in the surrounding area in the mountain range that we have here, we got this Shenandoah National Park, which is part of the Blue Ridge Mountains. We have them. They're right here in my backyard. I could go out there and show you, look at it. I mean, you can't miss them.
Right.
But yeah, there's been so many reports and stories I've heard from here, different encounters and sightings I've gone in and investigated from other people. And then out in the western part of the state where I've done a lot of my research and had my experiences, I've heard stories from others. Um, I feel confident to say that the Squatches are alive and well here in Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley. So,
Wow.
I mean, the Shenandoah Valley and the surrounding area of the mountains, it's definitely a hot spot.
That's
So,
a big area too. And now, have you ever gotten gifts at your house?
uh,
Notice anything?
no, I mean, where I live, it's kind of like a subdivision, but we're on 3 or 4 acre lots.
Yeah.
The only thing that we come around occasionally, we've had bear pass through here. We had the deer run through here. Then
Okay.
we got possums and skunks that come up on the front porch and eat the cat's food. So,
Yeah, well, I mean,
so
everything's got to eat. It's all got to eat. Now, are you going to be at the Hamlet Festival, North Carolina, in April 1st?
that one, no, I'm not.
Yep.
Originally, long time ago, I was originally going to be there, but that's my ex girlfriend that's hosting it, Jessica. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
you don't want no bad blood. Though. Only reason why I was only going to be able to make that one because it's only like an hour and 40 minutes from my house, so it's perfect. It's not too far because a lot of these ones are like in Virginia, Tennessee. Like
Yeah.
4 hours. It's not that I don't want to, but 4 hours is a long drive. Especially I got a big jacked up 6.2 liter pickup truck, and that thing eats gas like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Trust me, I totally understand that. For what I drive at work, I mean, we have 2 pickup trucks at the moment, and yeah, when I drive the Dodge, that's a gas guzzler.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, mine's a Chevy. It's a Chevy Silverado. It's got loud exhaust on it. It's jacked up. It's got these big light bars on the top, and it's got a big Sasquatch sticker on the back. It's my Squatchamobile. But like I said, it just can't really go super far with it because it just eats so much gas. Someone's got a
Oh,
question in the chat. Yeah, that time of year for them to migrate.
well, I've been asked about do they migrate? Period. Well, my simple response to that is, um, first of all, let me say here in Virginia, we've actually had a very mild winter. I'm
Yeah.
sure in other states as well. I've only seen a little dusting of snow here and there. That's about it. But more in the higher elevations out in the mountains. But um, now, as I've told people before, if the weather it becomes kind of harsh, your predators, well, I should say your prey animals, deer and other small animals, if the food source becomes scarce for them, they're going to have to move along and and find that food source and go where the food source is.
Yeah.
And then you got your predators that feed off the prey animals. They're going to
Yep.
follow.
Hmm.
So yeah, it all varies. It depends on the prey. If the prey are moving out and about and moving out of the area, um,
Hmm.
But now I will tell you, the food source is highly abundant for all the wildlife here. I mean, really, I personally don't feel or don't see no reason for them to have to move out. Unless they feel threatened in the area and they have to go to another. Because the national forest here in Virginia, it's thousands and thousands and thousands of acres,
Yeah.
not including other states and other forests that run into other states that it connects into.
And North
So,
Carolina connects to Virginia too. I mean, you got all those forests and part of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Eddie Rodriguez has a quick question. I think he has two questions, and we're going to kind of cut it short on the question and kind of end this at an hour. So, can you see that one?
Yeah, that's a good question, but I will tell you this: it actually, on the most part, it fluctuates.
Yeah, I would
Um,
say increase because they're knocking down a lot of their forest land, so these things are moving around more because they're trying to find, somewhere, a stable area, just hang out and to have consider their home in the woods because they keep knocking down land and cutting trees out, foresting, and wood mills cutting all trees down, make paper and everything else. So when they're doing that, they're taking the habitat away from, I mean, just about everything in the forest. So these things are moving where
yeah,
they get to where they're having some solitude.
yeah, I mean, in the national forest, it's federally owned, and like I said,
Yeah, you
there's
can't cut nothing.
right, but I mean, people go and cut down trees in there, but you got to get permits to do it for, it's for firewood and stuff.
Yeah,
But I would cry if they start wiping all that out because it's a beautiful land. It's a
yeah,
lot of, there's lakes and streams and springs out there, and and then like I said, where I camp at, if you go up the forest road about 5-6 miles in one direction, you're right there on the West Virginia line.
yeah.
I mean, we're right. Yeah, I don't know. It's you got the George Washington National Forest, the Jefferson National Forest, and then, like I said, there's other national forests in West Virginia it connects into. I mean, when you're at the West Virginia end of my research area, you're literally looking over a valley. You're on top of a mountain looking down. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Um, and that's right next to one of the highest peaks here in Virginia. It's you got Reddish Knob. I kind of shouldn't be announcing too much details because I
No,
don't want a bunch of people hogging
hey,
and running through.
you're not giving coordinates. You're just saying names of stuff. So I mean,
Oh yeah,
without exact coordinates, no one's gonna know. Um, the last question from Eddie, and then we'll kind of cap this off. What time of the year is Sasquatch most active? I'm thinking the spring because
yeah,
like everything, like forest, new life in the forest, everything's rebirth. A lot of the deer. I mean, right now deer are reproducing baby deer from the from the heat from the mating in the wintertime from what they go into heat, they call it the buck in the rut, and they're producing
right.
right now the does are producing baby deer right now, the little bambis that people are calling bambi with spots, that they first get out, when they're first born, they can barely walk, they can barely run, and that's probably prime meal for a squatch.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course. I mean, of course here in Virginia and various areas, I can tell you the rut is still going on,
Yeah,
and I know I've
God.
actually cut. Yeah, I've actually got on my trail camera on video 2 bucks sparring with a doe standing there. Like,
And you,
yeah,
pardon me, they shed their antlers probably mid January end of February, and that's it. So
yeah. Well, yeah. These guys still have their antlers, but yeah, they were definitely button heads. But yeah, as far as Eddie's question, that's a good question. And Thomas, you're absolutely right. Springtime, uh, early to mid spring, and then you got early to mid fall before it gets too cold. But then again, we've had some mild weather up here. I think the coldest. Well, out in the mountains, it drops down. It's dropped down really cold. We've had a couple cold days, but yeah, as far as the time of year, I look at the temperatures because I mean, if I was a squatch living out in those woods, I wouldn't want to be moving around in the scalding heat. I would be bunkered down around the rocks and the shade and the water source. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think about the comfortable temperatures and the time, when it's not so hot, not so cold, and then yeah, where a lot of your wildlife is going to be moving around a little bit more. So yeah, I think spring is an excellent time. I got some camping coming up here. You know, I actually got camping going on this month. I got camping coming up. I got a group of people that's going out with me in May. Then I have another camp out I have scheduled in the month of September. So, but I'll have other times where I'll be out in the woods because I get out there every opportunity I get. Long as I have the time and the funds to drive out there, and um, so yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to keep everything balanced. I am trying to dedicate a lot more time. I used to spend tons of time out there. Um, I know, like I said, this past year, I basically neglected it.
yeah,
I've been to a lot of events, spend a lot of time, a lot of outings, various locations, and doing whatever. But yeah, I'm definitely looking a lot more, and yeah, there's going to be a lot
Especially with,
more.
especially with new
So,
equipment too. I mean, I actually have a monocular, a night vision monocular that's pretty decent, and that has a SD in it too. And then I
oh
have my
yeah,
little camera too. So I'm just waiting for the weather to get a little better, and I could actually do some field work. And like I was asking for, I think my group, my Facebook group has about 2,800 members in it. I was asking everyone if they can subscribe to this channel, help me get to 1,000 subscribers, so I can pretty much go live on the Weem. Because when you have to have 1,000 subscribers to go live, just to push the live button and go live right on the spot, from like your phone, instead of being.
oh okay, yeah. Not, who knows? You may, I don't know. I don't know how many you have right now, but I've shared the heck out of this between today and the other day. So
Get
hopefully
there.
somebody starts. Hopefully somebody picks up on it.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll get there soon. I mean, I'm not like in no rush. Like I said, I'm kind of like you. I have a full time job, family, wife, kids, and everything else, and also hobbies. It's motorcycle season now, so I'm looking forward to getting on my bike and riding down the road and feeling the wind breeze hit my hair. But like I said,
Oh
I love
yeah.
watching. I love doing investigations, so I got to kind of factor it and kind of make it work. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So yeah, and I encourage anybody that ever wants to come up to Virginia, if you want to join one of my campouts. Normally, I have my group camp out set up for a donation of normally $50. There's a reason why I do that. For the longest time, I've always kept them free,
Mm,
but there's been a rise on hoaxing. There's so many people
yeah.
that are willing to show up and mess around with your area. I mean, my mindset looked at it like this. Well, will a hoaxer be willing to hand over money? I mean, maybe if they're that extreme on wanting to hoax and pull a fast one, Um, and plus that those money, any of the donations I get, they go towards other events. They help assist with my annual events and everything too. So you know,
There's
um,
nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're not like you're also giving knowledge and putting your life on the line to show people these out in the woods. So I
yeah. I
think
mean,
people should charge accordingly. I mean, I don't mind paying to do something like that, but then, there's also people that charge thousands of dollars to
oh
claim to
yeah,
be a squatch, and they only take out 6 people per month, and this and that. I'm not going to say no names, but more power to them if they can do it. They can sucker people into paying that kind of money. That's all. But yeah. So
yeah. I know
I look
exactly
forward.
what group you're talking about because I've known others that used to be a part of them. And then that paid money into them and had emergencies come up and they wouldn't get reimbursed. So
Real
and the
quick.
thing is, my outings are just like theirs. I
Mm,
mean, I take people out into a very remote, heavily wooded area where there's activity and reports and evidence I've come across, other people had shared and reported.
right.
There's squatches out there, and I
Yeah.
take people out there because I want them to get familiar with the location for one thing and get a feel of what's out there.
I would
It's
love to
not
do that.
guaranteed.
That's great. I mean, if
Oh
I could
yeah,
find a camp area, I would just I'd do the same thing, and I just charge people whatever the campsite costs. Bring your own food and whatever donations, whatever you're comfortable with donating. That's fine by me. I mean, that's not a bad idea either.
right. So come on up, Thomas.
I need to come on up and check, but I just wanted to share this footprint that I caught. If anybody can kind of see it, see that impression right there. This
Hey,
is something
could
I
you
found. It's hard
could you
because
ch-
it's in the leaf, but it's wide and it's long. And I'll just do a follow up shot with my shoe next to it. You can see my shoe.
oh,
It's longer than my shoe, and it's probably about 6 inches wide at the toe edge.
okay.
But
Yeah, I can
yeah,
see. Yeah.
we talked about this earlier. It's hard to see a footprint, especially when you're there in person, and then when you take a the picture never gets a good quality shot of it. But yeah,
Right.
I appreciate you having you on tonight. I really do. I was looking forward to it for so long. We finally got connected right. We had no interruptions. I mean, obviously my internet jams up here and there, but we actually you were on the whole time. I didn't lose you like the last couple times where you're sitting there
Right.
getting budged for crap. So I'm looking
Well,
forward to seeing what comes on from you next. And if I can make it out to Virginia, I'd love to sometime in the future. That'd be great.
oh yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, not every Friday night, but most Friday night, I normally have a guest where I interview them, and I also have an open Bigfoot panel discussion, which I think you would be perfect. You would love that. We're very laid back, just like here. We're very laid back. We, yes, sometimes we cut up and joke, but we do have serious discussion as well. So yeah, if you guys ever want to check that out and participate as well, yeah.
Find a date and set me a time for a Friday, and I'd love to help. Come on and spend an hour or so and hang out and shoot the shit and hang. Talk about topics and go from there. Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely, I'm booked up for. I mean, I'm pretty much occupied for the rest of the month of March, but I already started booking for April already. I already got a guest for the first Friday, and because like I said, we do it every Friday night at 9 p.m. So.
You just let me know when, and I'll be there. Just give me a time, and I'll put it on my calendar, and we'll go from there. But, dude, I appreciate having you on tonight. I look forward to hearing what you got going on in the future, and I'll probably check you out Friday night and see how that goes. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. This has been great, man. I really enjoyed this. So I hope your audience enjoyed it.
Everyone loved it, man. Well, yeah, I actually had a really high. I think I had like 27 people in the chat, which is a record high. So awesome.
Oh, yeah, okay, cool.
Dude, Truth Staker says, "Yeah, chew the fat. It's nice." Well, everybody, y'all have a great night and enjoy the rest of your week and have a blessed evening. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Everybody, y'all have a blessed evening, and thanks again for coming on tonight. And like I said, if everyone could subscribe, that would help me get to 1,000. Then I can start doing these live streams off the fly in the woods, with my camcorder or my phone. So appreciate everybody. Have a blessed evening.